Access Squad, we heard you, and today we have a bonus episode for you where we have Cody Hodgson, a professional hockey player, on to tell us all about hockey because we couldn't do it without him.
This is going to be one of those things where it's like you don't know what you know until we ask you a question and you're going to be like, wait, you really don't know that? Like, really, we don't. And a lot of our listeners don't either. So just bear with us.
And no, that's fine. My actual job, I work for the National Predators, and my job is to introduce kids to the game of hockey. So I answer all these questions and more every day.
That's amazing. Is it like a program that you teach the kids hockey, or how does that work?
I played 6 years in the NHL, played for Vancouver, Buffalo, and Nashville. And then when I was finished with Nashville, they asked if I wanted to be the lead alumni for their Little Preds program. It basically introduces kids to the game that are aged 4 to 9 years old. And the only stipulation being that the kids have not been able to play hockey before this. So it's literally like the first introduction they get to the game of hockey that we kind of oversee. And to make it affordable, the game of hockey is so expensive now. We've given them free gear. We give them like outfit, skates, stick, helmet, gloves, everything, all the equipment needed. We give them NHL alumni coaching, and then the ice time for like $150 or something. So
wait, what did you just say? What did they wear?
Skates.
No, you said the word that starts with an O.
I don't know.
Outfits, but how do you say it? You've got the Canadian accent. Say it.
Yeah, I've been told that. I've been in the States now, actually almost a decade, 10 years. So.
Oh, really? But you
I've
still
lost
say
most of the Canadian accent, but out.
Rough or rough
out.
and outfit and I'm trying to think of other words. What are other words that you say that people are like?
Those are the big ones, and I say A quite a bit as well.
A. Nice.
Yes,
I have a friend from the UP, and they all say A all the time too. It's very bizarre. Very bizarre.
That's right. I get asked if I'm from the UP all the time, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yesenia, you don't know her, but Christine Yesenia is from the UP, and they're always like, I don't even know there's like one saying that they all say like, A to the UP, eh? Or so, I don't even know.
I've literally never in my life heard Yesenia say that.
Yes, well, no, she doesn't really have that much of an accent. And Cody, you really don't either. It's just like specific words that I picked up on. And I was like, all right.
I'm actually
a little bit of research and knew that you were from Canada. And I was like, yeah, I heard it. I heard it when you said outfit.
Yeah, but to get back to my point, none of this will be like new questions. It's exactly what we want. We want to get kids involved in the game, and then hopefully they stick around and want to come buy tickets to NHL games and stuff. So it's been
you brought up, we've got like a whole list of questions that we want to ask, but you brought up the outfits, and not just how you say it, but also how expensive they are. And that's kind of one of our questions. So I'm kind of just going to jump all over the place. The gear that you wear, the outfits, whatever. I was telling Christine, like it can be thousands of dollars worth of equipment that you need to wear in every single game. Is that right?
It can be, especially the more competitive and the more advanced equipment. What we give the kids, what we outfit them in, the beginner stuff is about $400. So if families wanted to join and get their kids signed up, they could, like I said earlier, pay $150 for all those services. But then they could just literally sell that equipment and make a profit. We don't tell the parents that, but we want to make it as easy as possible to get the kids in so that they're okay to compete with, basketball, baseball, soccer, which is a little more cost effective for the families. So we're trying to get rid of that kind of stigma attached to it. We want to get more kids involved in the game, and to do that, we got to make it cheaper.
So I would imagine like the protective equipment is like weighs a ton. Does it really weigh a lot whenever you're out on the ice? Like, is it a workout in itself just walking around with that protective gear on?
It used to. Like years ago, the pads were made of leather and like the goalie equipment. So being a goalie, you need to be pretty strong. Now it's all light. It's the technology's improved so much that it's more protective. It's harder on. They have this stuff now in your gloves that they use, like motorcycle racers will use, that if you slash it, it becomes hard, but for the most part it's like malleable. So it's kind of there's lots of new stuff being built into the game, but we're trying to make it lighter and more cost efficient, that's for sure.
So if we put you on the spot and told you to tell us when you were in the, oh my God, I almost said professional hockey league. Is it the NHL, the National Hockey League? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
What kind of equipment did you wear? Like, what was and how long did it take you to get ready for a game?
Yeah. Like, what was your get up?
Yeah.
It took me, I mean, some people are superstitious, so it takes them longer or shorter, but I usually took about 15 minutes. I put my, you put your jock on first, or a Jill for a girl. You got your
What's
shin
that?
pads.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. What is that?
That's the protective equipment for your private.
For your
part.
privates.
Got it.
You knew
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So after that, you get your shin pads and you put your socks on. Those are the big, thick socks, not like the socks on your feet. Then you put like your garter belt, you attach to that to your socks. And then you put your pants on, shoulder pads,
Wow.
helmets, gloves. I put my skates on last just because I didn't like them to be too tight the whole time. I want to just be ready for the game. So I kept my skates. And in between intermissions, I would just undo my skates. Whereas some guys will get fully undressed in between intermission and they can get ready in like 5 minutes.
So you mentioned intermission. How many intermissions is there?
So there's 2 intermissions. There's 3 periods total. So after the first period, you have a 20-minute break. Second period, there's another 20-minute break, and then the end of the game. Unless it goes into overtime in the playoffs. During the regular season, It's just straight 5 minutes of overtime and then a game shootout. Sorry, it's 3-on-3 and then shootout. But in the playoffs, when you compete with the Stanley Cup, it's actually just unlimited amounts of period. However long it takes to win the game.
How long are the periods?
They're 20-minute stop time.
Which means what?
Well, after every whistle, it stops. Not like in football where the clock will just keep running. After each whistle, the clock stops. So it's actually
football meaning soccer.
Football meaning like the American version.
Wait, but the clock does stop in football.
When you run, the clock still runs. If you
I see what you're saying.
If you want to play, then the clock stops. But for the most part, it will run, so it's less time.
And when does it stop?
It counts it counts down from 20 minutes each period.
Each period.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I'm sorry, I'm still not comprehending the timing, the stopping of the timing. Christine, do you get it?
Yeah, I think so.
So it just
every whistle, if there's a goal, say the clock stops. So if there's a minute, it starts at 20, you go down to 19 minutes. There's a goal scored, it stops at 19. There's a face-off, the play resumes, and then the clock starts again. So the actual time players are playing is still.
But what about during like a penalty?
A penalty, the clock stops when there's a penalty, and then as the penalty goes, the clock starts with it. But there's going to be less players on the other team than your team. That's the advantage of a penalty or a power play. The team that gets the penalty is shorthanded. The team that the infraction was on, they now have a power play. So they have 5 players. The other team only gets 4, but the clock still runs during that time.
Because the player goes into the timeout booth or whatever it's called.
Yeah, timeout booth. That's a good thing.
What's it called? The penalty booth?
Penalty box.
It's
penalty box.
It's a timeout booth.
The timeout booth. Yeah. Okay. So the one team that has a penalty, and Christine and I were talking, we're like, what are penalties in hockey? So we'll get to that in a minute. But if you have a penalty and what'll end up happening. So there's, I guess, even higher level, there's 5 players versus 5 players on the ice at all times.
Yeah. So the very basics of hockey, I don't know if many of your listeners would know, but it's 5 skaters versus 5 skaters with a goalie. So technically there's 6 players on the ice for each team.
Okay.
And at the end of the game, more goals wins. That's pretty standard. But what kind of makes it different is that it's 3 stop period times of 60 minutes total, so 20 minutes each period. If there's a penalty, there's no assessed time like in European soccer. It's just you get the 60 minutes on the clock to play the game. More goals wins.
Got it. Okay. And then how many total players, or are they called skaters? You call it hockey players?
Players, same thing.
Okay. I want to get my terminology right. We had a baseball guy on and I kept calling the postseason, the playoffs, and all the terminology was wrong. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the terminology wrong. So there are 6 total players, including the goalie on the ice for each team. But how many people are sitting on the bench?
There's usually 4 lines of forwards. So of those 5 players that are on the ice plus a goalie, the goalie's always in the game, always on the ice. The 5 players that are skaters, they will rotate on and off, and they usually will rotate with their position. So there'll be 3 forwards and 2 defensemen. The forwards will change with another group of 3 lines on the bench. So that means there's 4 lines of forwards, 4 times 3 lines on the ice is 12 forwards, Then on defense, you usually have 6 defensemen, including 2 on the ice. So you have 2 extra pairs on the bench.
Okay. So
That's
what's
it's there's about 20 players on an NHL roster.
I was gonna say that's a big roster. That's a lot of players. Like typically you see like what 12 in the NBA. So and there's about the same number of people on the ice, but I mean obviously hockey is going to be a little bit more of a violent sport, if you will. So I think, you know, there's a lot more subbing going on in like a hockey game than you would see in like a basketball game, if you will.
Yeah, that was my
I think
question.
it comes down to more of a team sport. I mean, basketball, 1 or 2 players can really dominate the entire game. I feel like in hockey, the star players get the most attention, which makes sense, but it really takes a whole team to win. That's why you'll see a lot of these top players that play on bad teams. They're doing the best they can, but it still takes the rest of the crew to kind of help them out to win. And hockey, I feel like, is one of the best examples of that. You can't just have one good player that's on the ice the entire game because you have so many players on the roster that need to come into the game. It's the average shift length is about 40 seconds in NHL, so it's quick. You're on and off really fast, and the more guys come to replace you. And then if there's a power play or a penalty kill, there's not too many stoppages in play that can kind of get these guys back on the ice. So
it's not really like football where you have first string, second string, third string. So everybody gets some play time.
Yeah, you have to, because it's the most I think a forward will play of those 4 lines. You'll still have a first line, you'll have a second line, third line, fourth line.
And those are like the strings that you're talking about.
Exactly. But every string will play.
Okay.
Even the fourth line will still play anywhere between 6 and 12 minutes a night, depending on how much.
Why are you only in for 40 seconds? Is it because you get that tired because it's that exhausting?
You should be pushing it the pace that whole time. You should be skating and moving the puck and getting in the rough areas. And there's some areas that take a little more effort, like corners and being in front of the net, that you just really can't stay on much longer than that. You're pushing to the exhaustion each time.
Got it.
I believe that. Hockey games. Sarah, have you ever been to a hockey game?
I mean, to a Checkers game.
Yeah, I've been to one. It was actually the Canucks in Vancouver. We went in 2018, and I, again, went in not knowing anything about hockey, but I was shocked. It's so fast paced. It's constantly back and forth, and people are on ice too. So it's even faster, and people are just beating the crap out of each other. So is that like, what is considered a penalty in hockey? Because whenever I was watching it, I was like, there's just no rules.
Well, I mean, there are rules, and the more you grow up and the more you see it, you'll start to recognize it. But there's some things that are just blatant violations of the rules. You can't trip someone. You can't punch someone in the face without, like, even though you're not assessed a match penalty, you might still get a fighting penalty. You're still not allowed to fight in hockey. You're assessed a penalty, just not kicked out of the game. A lot of people have that confused. You're just not allowed to go out there and punch someone in the face.
Okay, what?
People do though.
Yeah, they just get a penalty for it. They get penalized. It's a violation of the rules, but we just don't penalize it like most other sports where it's an ejection from the game.
So I heard a rumor.
Yeah, you gotta go timeout for a little bit.
Gotta go in timeout for a little bit. Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
I heard a rumor that people would just go up to each other on the ice in the middle of a game and just be like, let's fight. Is that true or is that false? Is that fake news?
I mean, you see it a lot less now, but that's definitely a part of the game. There's been times, especially kind of older generations, where a team would get down a goal or two and the other team would try to, mix up the emotion, try to get their team fired up. So they would go to the other guy on the other team that's known for fighting and say, hey, we're gonna fight. And they're like, okay, it's my job, I got to do that. So you see less of it nowadays, but it's definitely was there.
That's awesome.
So are people losing teeth because they're fighting or because they're getting hit in the mouth with a puck?
I mean, you lose teeth for a variety of reasons. That's usually the first question I get when people ask me if I played, when I played hockey.
I know. Can we ask you to smile? Do you have all your pearlies? You do.
He does.
You need a good dentist. That's the key. So these two are fake right here.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
How many have you lost?
2.5. So I had one rebuilt too.
Wow. And how did you lose yours?
I was going to say, Cody, can we ask you how you lost yours? Was it hockey related?
Yeah, no, they're all hockey related.
Okay.
The first one was when I was 17. I fell. I actually got tripped, and the puck was right by my face, and the person on the other team went to get the puck. His stick hit me in the mouth, and
Oh,
chipped the one in half and knocked the other one a little bit. So I rebuilt it. And then a few years ago, playing professionally, I got cross-checked in the face by a defenseman.
What does
Ow.
cross-checked mean?
When you have your hockey stick and you cross-check, so I have a putter here in front of me. It's like this whole, and you're really cross-checking someone with their stick.
Oh, it's funny that you bring the putter into this. Because
that was one of our questions.
I was talking to Christine earlier and I was like, wait, do hockey players have like just as many sticks as, I mean, golfers, obviously there's all the irons, there's the drivers, whatever. So, and like the puck, like, are there different variables? I'm sorry, the stick, are there different variables of a stick? Like, do you get one that hits the puck really far, or one that is just like a big log that doesn't hit the puck really far? Like, are there different sizes
most players don't. Most have one stick that's they repeat. So they, like, throughout a season, you'll go through, I don't know, 80, 90 sticks. You got probably two sticks a game. Some guys will use 4, but you're constantly rotating through. So you go through a ton of sticks. They get broken, they get chipped, they get, stepped on. The sticks are really just, they reload them so quickly. But
they don't have any sort of like sentimental value to them, like golfers do with their putters and their, you know what I mean?
Some guys do. So I remember I played with a teammate who had a hat trick with his stick. And, like, he would use it for the next game, get another hat trick. So like he wanted to keep using the same stick. Usually that doesn't happen. That's like a rare circumstance.
All right. So Cody, what is a hat trick?
Oh, a hat trick is when a player scores 3 goals. And traditionally in hockey, it became that way. When someone scored 3 goals, someone would throw their hat on the ice. So
3 goals in one game?
Yeah, 3 goals in the same game. And usually the crowd just litters the ice with hats. That's just kind of a tradition.
So have you ever had a hat trick?
Not in the NHL, actually, but in my professional career, yes.
Okay.
Got it.
So we've talked, I mean, I feel like players, we've talked offense, we've talked defense. So what position did you play, Cody?
I played center and right wing. So I was a forward. My job was to score goals and generate offense.
Got it. And then there were one other of you on the ice. So how many offensive and defensive players are there on the ice?
So of the 5 on my team, there was usually 2 other players, a left winger and a right winger. And then on the other team, they also had forwards that were right, center, and left wing. And they were trying to score on us.
And then so there's 2 defenders and the goalie.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. So I feel like we've talked through all of the rules. We've talked through penalties, fighting, losing teeth.
Yep.
Christine, this might be a difficult question because if somebody asked me how many NFL teams there were, I don't know if I'd be able to say it on the spot, but like, do you know, I guess, how do the divisions work in hockey? Like, who plays who?
That's a good question, Sarah.
Like, how are they broken up?
So hockey is all based on geography.
Okay.
It's been like that for a long time, just to kind of cut down on travel and to build in some rivalries. So the division where you guys are probably from, if you said you've been to a Charlotte Checkers game, there'd be Carolina Hurricanes are right there. They would play against some of the other teams in the closer proximity. So it was based on time zones. It's based off of how far the plane rides are. And they just try to keep it kind of close. This year with COVID, it's different. They have like these bubbles that teams will play against, and all of Canada is one, but that's not typical. There's a ton of travel up in Canada right now that normally teams wouldn't want to do.
So how many games are in a regular season? Like, how many games do you guys play?
82 games regular season. There's about 10 preseason games usually to get, you get into the rhythm and allow the rookies to play more and just kind of sharpen your skills. And then in the playoffs, it's the first team to 16 wins. So you have to win best of 7 4 times.
Wow. The same team?
It's the best of 7. Okay. Because I remember the Charlotte Checkers won the Stanley Cup for their size of hockey, whatever it's called.
That's right.
What it's called. And I remember I went to a few of their games, but it felt like such a long postseason. It's because it is. So there's how many, there's 82 regular season games. And then how does the bracket for the postseason work?
So the top 16 teams all make the playoffs. The bottom half of the league doesn't make it. And within those 2 top 16, there's 2 divisions that are made. So there's on each side. It's like a bracket style. You ever follow the March Madness basketball? It's similar, but rather than one game, you play 7 games to see who moves on to the next game, next series. So that if you win 4 games, you move on to the next one. It could be 4 straight if you win all 4. Then you go to the next round, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals.
And then the finals is to win the Stanley Cup.
That's right. Yeah.
And that would be the East versus the West.
Traditionally, yeah.
Okay.
We've had some changes to the brackets, but yeah, that's normally what it's like.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And then who is like, okay, so knowing again, absolutely nothing about hockey, who won the Stanley Cup last year?
The Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And like, what are teams that like, I feel like we should know about the Hurricanes because they're just in North Carolina. So I should know.
We've never been to a Hurricanes game.
We've never been to a game. But like, what are like, you think of the Lakers when you think of the NBA, right? I mean, I think the Charlotte Hornets, but that's because I'm biased and I obviously am from Charlotte. So I love the Charlotte Hornets. But like, you know, there are big names in the NBA that I feel like you should know about. Like, what are the big name teams in hockey that like we should know about? We should keep an eye out for.
I mean, I think the equivalent of, you know, like the Dallas Cowboys say in football, or it'd be the Toronto Maple Leafs would be the traditional.
The OGs.
The Montreal Canadiens, New York Rangers.
Okay.
So those are probably the most well-known. Montreal's won the most Stanley Cups. The Chicago Blackhawks, you may have heard of.
Yep.
Philadelphia Flyers.
The Caps, the Capitals. I went to school in Virginia.
Yeah, the Caps.
A couple years ago.
And everybody I went to school with was huge Caps fans, and it was just a reason for me to go out and party. So I went out and wore my red and was like, yippee, but like had absolutely no idea what was going on. I mean, I love a good sporting event.
The Caps have been good lately too. And like the Preds and the Penguins played each other, a few years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what really supports the game. You know, we get enough people that are passionate fans into it, and then it brings along everyone else. So
yeah. Well, I think too, I mean, so Cody, I know we talked all the rules of like hockey and everything, but what brought you to the game of hockey? Like, how old were you whenever you started playing?
Yeah, I grew up in Canada, so my experience might be a little different than some of your viewers, but I grew up skating on an outdoor lake. It was behind our cottage. We shoveled off the snow, and my dad played growing up, not professionally, but you know, like just like most Canadians, everyone kind of learned to skate and knew how to play the game. So my brother played, and I had to do what he did. And so we just grew up kind of living and breathing hockey every day. I was fortunate enough to play with a really good minor hockey league team with some really good coaches. And I think 5 of us from that team all played in NHL, which the odds of making it are 0.001 or something. It's like ridiculous. So to have awesome. 5 of us from one team was pretty special. So I have a lot of fond memories growing up, and that's why I like to give back to the game now. That's why I work for the National Predators and the youth and try to get more people involved in the game.
That's amazing. We're part of that youth because we know absolutely nothing.
That's true. That's
guaranteed
true.
Your 5-year-olds who have been in the program for a year know a lot more and can probably skate better backwards than Christine and I can skate forwards.
They're pretty good. That's not saying much though. That's not saying anything against you guys. There's some pretty good skaters out there.
Oh my gosh. It's even on the ski slope. I go out there and I see these little like 3-year-olds who can just learn to walk, and they're, you know, skiing,
going
snowboarding,
right down past us.
Chewing, sliding right past us. And I'm like sweating my ass off. So, anyway, I want to know the season. So 82 games obviously is played over how long? Like how long, when does the season start? When does it end? How long is it?
Outside of COVID, it starts in October and it's done by June.
That's a long season.
It's a grind.
And then you have probably preseason starts back again in what? September?
Yeah.
And so training starts in July. I mean, you have what, 1 month?
Yeah, if you win the Stanley Cup multiple times, like Chicago has recently, or you go to the finals a lot, like Tampa, there's not a lot of off season. For teams that don't make the playoffs, you got like 4 or 5 months of golfing. So it's a nice overlap between the two sports. Yeah. That's why I have the putter here. Has set up a golf putting range in my house.
I was going to say, in your free time, do you like to golf? I saw the putter, and this is the second time you've brought golf up. So are you a golfer?
I do. Yeah, just got back into it with your friend Katie, actually. She's a pretty good golfer too. So.
Are you, Katie?
Katie, I'm learning this about you.
Fantastic golfer, but I can golf.
Okay.
That's
I
what-
like to go to Top Golf and drink.
Well, we did grow up
Top
on a
golf
golf
is great.
course.
We did.
We
Yeah,
did
I
grow
don't
up
know.
on a golf course.
Yeah, Katie's parents or Katie's dad and our dad play golf together like all of the time. And yes, like in our backyards, our parents' backyards is a golf course. So we definitely grew up in and around it, but I'm not good at it. I'm too
Sarah
loud.
and I use the golf course more to go sledding when it snowed. My parents and Katie obviously used it for actual golf.
We would walk the golf course on like
Yeah, we would
Mondays
walk.
or whenever it was closed, like the golf course was actually closed, we would walk it.
Mondays.
But yeah, no, I've never really learned the game of golf. I was a cart girl,
Yeah.
gave out the beverages. It was the easiest job ever. It was the nastiest job I've ever had. I've never been hit on by like 70-year-old men so much in my life.
But you got tipped well.
But I got tipped really well. And so yeah, it was definitely worth it. And again, it was very easy. So I didn't mind. But all right, Christine, is that everything? Is there anything else you want to talk to Cody about? Oh, Cody, I do want to ask you a question and you don't have to answer it. We can edit this out. What's dating like in the NHL?
I mean, as a 19-year-old, it's a lot different than as a 30-year-old, but this kind of goes across the spectrum of professional sports. I think you have the opportunity to travel and meet people in every city, and you have an opportunity to meet some cool people. So just kind of is what you want to make it. I feel like a lot of players, and I think I was the only single guy in Vancouver. Most of them had girlfriends or wives. A lot of them, hockey, you feel like your life is kind of sped up a little bit. You move away from home at 14. You start playing professional at 18, 19. You start making money at about 20, 21. So you feel like you've done a lot of things that you feel kind of old at 24, 25. I think I was one of the oldest guys on my team at 24. So everything's kind of sped up a little bit. A lot of guys get married earlier, start having kids earlier. So, and it's, a lot of them are people that they met in junior or high school or university. So most of the teams that I've been on, a lot of them had girlfriends, but dating, you just kind of have the opportunity to date people from all over. So it's kind of cool.
That is really cool.
Different area codes. I feel like you're being like very nonchalant about it. If you're like comparing it to like I was talking to one of my friends who, she's just dated, we'll just say she's dated a lot of athletes, right? And she's like, the way that it works, and this is with football. She's definitely, dated some basketball players too, but it's mainly with football players. She's like, what they'll do is like, it's more of like I hear you talking about the hockey players about how they have girlfriends and wives, but with football and basketball, it's more of like, a lot of them have an agreement that it's like, okay, like I'm going to take care of you for the rest of your life. But like when I'm on the road, I'm going to do what I want to do.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but it's not as prevalent as what it is in the NFL and NBA.
Got it. Okay.
So whenever you're traveling though, and you travel a lot during the regular season, there's 82 games. Is there time to actually go out and explore the city that you're in? Or are you there, you play, you leave?
Well, I had a pretty unique experience. I got hurt pretty bad when I was 19. So most of the doctors and people that kind of monitored me didn't think I was going to be able to play again. And so I kind of appreciated it when I went back. I made sure to like soak up every city because I didn't, it could be over the next day. So I would go out with my teammates. We'd have dinner and usually watch TV or something after. But we weren't big on like, huge going out stuff. But we'd definitely take advantage of each city. We'd go, like we were playing in San Jose, we might go up to San Francisco to have dinner. You go to LA, we do some stuff around the city, and it's just different when you go to different places. There's always something to see, but after a few years of doing the same thing, a lot of the older guys kind of get tired of it, or you just kind of get to know your spots. Hockey players are famous for being very habitual. They'll find if you go to one team to the next team, a lot of them will go to the same restaurants when they get into a city. Like there's a good German place in say Washington, or like there's a good Asian place in Carolina. Like they their habits, so
they keep to their favorites.
I mean, when you travel that much though, so you have to stay on you need some sort of familiarity, right? Like I feel like it's just like a comfort thing for them. I'm the same way. I mean, I don't travel, for 82 professional games a year. And I would say 90% of the time I go to the exact same restaurants in Charlotte. So I can say that Christine's much more like get out, go try new things. I'm very much like a habitual person, very much a ritual person, and like to go
There's
to the
nothing
same
wrong with that
places
either.
over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question and then we can get off. Can a lot of goalies do full splits?
Most of them.
Christine, isn't that crazy?
Honestly, I thought that was a stupid question because I was like, wait, there's no way that they do splits.
I've been in my living room all day and I've been listening to hockey, and like one of the top 10s was like this guy's like split that he did to like save a goal. And I was like, that looked way too easy for him. It looks even more odd because they have so much equipment on. It's crazy.
So why wouldn't they just be in a permanent split then the whole time? There's no way that anybody could get a goal.
Well, yes, Christine. Because
just stay in a split and starfish your hands up, right?
They have experience like with that. I think they put like sumo wrestlers in and stuff and just try to cover as much net as possible, but it never seems to work as well.
Oh my God, that's so funny. You like strategically like recruit people off of like the My 600 Pound Life and just like suit them up and sit them in front. Okay, that's not funny, Katie. You might need to edit that out.
But now it's amazing. Some of the best players and the most athletic players are usually goalies now. They're about 6'5", 6'6", and they can move and they're flexible and strong.
Wow.
Really impressive to see. That's changed. It used to be growing up, you'd put the kid that really wasn't as athletic and maybe couldn't score or couldn't play defenseman in net just kind of as an afterthought, say, just stand here and get in the way of the pucks. But now there's some of the best athletes in the world.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll go like empty, like the goalie will come out, right? And like play against the other team so that you like if
I get so nervous when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're down a goal and you need to score a goal because they're up 1, the goalie will come out to try to, and then we can throw a normal skater on the ice to because you don't care if they score on you, you're still going to lose anyway. But if you have an extra skater to score a goal, it's an advantage for your team. So the last couple minutes, teams will experiment with that and they'll pull a goalie and put a player on the ice in this place.
Crazy. So
that
crazy. And yes,
so
it's
crazy.
very like an empty net. Yeah, it's very, very stressful for sure.
I feel like as a goalie too, though, I would get anxiety every time I saw the puck coming to my side of the I was gonna say court, but the rink.
Ice.
Ice. Every time it'd come to my side, I'd be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like I feel that anxiety just watching a game. Like, okay, it's coming, I'm like nervous for the goalie just in the stands watching the game.
And they skate so fast.
Yeah,
I know.
Oh, do you know how fast they skate? How fast do they skate back and forth? Like how fast can you get up to on the ice?
Like average.
I don't know. I know the record for the fastest skater in NHL is Connor McDavid. He's can skate all the way around the rink from red line all the way around the rink back to itself in like 13 seconds, which is insane.
What?
Crazy. That is so insane.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I could just sit here and pick your brain for the rest of the evening. But we so appreciate you taking the time to come on. I think we hit everything. If we think of anything else, we'll definitely let you know, but we are very appreciative.
Yes,
and
thank you so much. Our listeners have been constantly telling us to talk hockey, and we were like, you guys, we don't know hockey. We need to find somebody.
Start watching though. We've got to start watching.
Honestly though, yeah, I live in DC, so the Caps have been pretty good lately, so I definitely want to get to more games.
Yeah.
It's a very entertaining sport.
That wraps up our bonus episode with Cody Hodgson on hockey, you guys. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Toodaloo.